year was 1958. The Giants had just moved to San Francisco. Y.A. Tittle was playing quarterback for the 49ers. And a Chinese teenager named Norman Owyoung was starting to turn heads on high school basketball courts.
They go, ooh. That's all they say.
It was in 1949 Norman moved to San Francisco from China. He took up basketball because it was inexpensive and he liked playing the game with his friends. A big fan of Celtics guard Bob Cousy, Norman copied his flashy ball handling style.
Especially like through the leg or behind my back, behind the back pass after Bob Cousy. I used to watch him a lot. They say, do it again. Which I try.
As a junior at George Washington High School, Norman stood just 5'5" and weighed 115 pounds. But because of his quickness and talent, was promoted to the varsity. He once scored 38 points in a game.
Whenever we go to a tournament, we're always the underdog because I'm so short. But in my time, we won most of our tournaments, so we did good. It doesn't bother me when I play with big people. I'm a little bit quicker, and they're a little bit slower, so that evens it out.
To compensate for his height, Norman developed an unusual shooting style.
He'd bring the ball not just straight in front of himself, but he'd bring the ball to the side and then release the ball from behind his head. So a defender would think, well, normally I can defend the ball directly in front of the player, but the ball actually came from the side of his head or behind his head, behind his ear. And the defender would be totally out of place to defend the shot. And then he learned how to make hook shots as he was running by the basket, which was just phenomenal.
During his senior year at Washington, his teammates voted him their most valuable player. He also earned All-City honors and was named to an All-American team. Norman was not just a standout for Washington High, but the all-Chinese San Francisco Saints. At age 16, he was the youngest and smallest team member, but he may have also been the toughest.
He's really light now. He's about 125 pounds, 130 pounds now. No muscle at all. But he held his own though.
Norman would really kind of dazzle a lot of players with his showmanship. Very quick and doing things that you see in today's market. He could shoot with his left hand, he could shoot with his right, he could go left, he was really quick.
Playing against service and all-star teams, the Saints heard the occasional racist comment, but they rose above it.
You know, Norman never let that bother him, never mentioned it. We all knew that it was there. We all knew that we had to do better. We had to be the best. We had to be exemplary. We had to be something that was so good that nobody could say no to us. And Norman was the best.
Following high school, San Jose State offered Norman a basketball scholarship, but family came first.
I got married and we were expecting a child, and I had to go to work.
But he still had the desire to play. And in 1964, Norman convinced the San Francisco Warriors to let him come to training camp, thus becoming the first Chinese person to get an NBA tryout.
It was a dream come true for all Asian basketball kids, you know, especially here in Chinatown in the community, and to say there was a player that's good enough to run with the pros.
It was fun. Great experience. I was running around. They can catch me, and they were a little impressed.
But Norman was among the last players cut. It didn't help that the Warriors were the defending Western Division champs and were deep at the guard position. NBA Hall of Fame nominee Al Attles was not in camp yet, but heard all about Norman from his teammates.
He had nothing but great things to say about him, and even the players that he played against and gave a bad time, they had nothing but great things to say about him. And I, like I jokingly say, I never got a chance to see him, which I was glad I didn't. But I would have been, I wish I could have played against him and to really see how good he was. But from what I'd heard, he was just a terrific player.
Norman did receive a personal letter from team owner Franklin Mieuli, which said he was good enough to make the team, but not big enough. The letter provided little comfort.
I almost threw it away because, hey, I said, hey, well, you write me a letter, but you cut me, You didn't want me on the team. No, he didn't make me feel any better because I was upset. because I was so competitive, and it just made me a little mad at that time, but I got over it.
The letter from Mieuli went on to say, quote, "I know many Chinese boys now growing up will take added encouragement from the great stride you made in their behalf. And someday a Chinese player will make it because Norman Owyoung broke the ice with the San Francisco Warriors in 1964. 46 years later, Mieuli's words came true as Jeremy Lin was signed by the Golden State Warriors.
How good has he been here in this quarter?
Norman never got another NBA tryout, but he did continue to play with other Asian American teams.
And so in the early 70s, he actually traveled to China and Taiwan, which was a new thing to do, and it did very well there. Became a national star in Taiwan. People couldn't believe how well he played there. Nobody had seen any of that kind of basketball before.
Now at age 74, Norman still has a love affair with the game. And while he never got to suit up for an NBA team, he does have the satisfaction of knowing he helped pave the way for others. So when you see a guy like Jeremy Lin out there playing, what goes through your mind?
I say, oh my goodness, that's how I used to play.